Beneath the Bodhi tree, Buddha sat in serene meditation as the morning sun bathed the earth in light. A soft breeze stirred the leaves, carrying whispers of wisdom through the stillness of the forest. Disciples gathered around Buddha, their eyes filled with curiosity and reverence for their revered teacher. Buddha opened his eyes and spoke. Suffering arises when we cling to desires, illusions, and impermanence in this ever-changing world. A young disciple, eager to understand, approached and bowed. Master, how can we free ourselves from this cycle of suffering? Buddha gazed at him with compassion and replied, begin by observing your thoughts, attachments, and the transient nature of all things. The disciple asked, Master, why do we become attached to what we know is impermanent and fleeting in this transient life? Buddha said, attachment arises from ignorance, an illusion of permanence, and the mistaken belief that happiness lies outside of ourselves. The disciple trembled, whispering, Master, how do I release what I cannot forget? Pain clings like vines to my heart. Buddha extended his hand, plucking a single leaf from the ground, holding its fragile form to the flickering light. The disciple asked, Master, should we then forsake all desires, even those that bring joy and fulfillment to our hearts? Buddha replied, true joy comes from understanding the nature of existence, not from clinging to fleeting pleasures or material possessions. A murmur arose among the disciples as they reflected on Buddha's profound teachings and their own lives' attachments. Buddha said, happiness is a state of mind, cultivated through mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom in our daily lives. Another disciple asked, Master, how can we cultivate this mindfulness and wisdom amidst the distractions of our busy lives in the world? Buddha replied, through meditation, reflection, and conscious living, we can awaken to the truths of impermanence, interconnection, and contentment. The middle way is the path of balance, of equanimity, leading to freedom from the endless cycle of suffering, he explained, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and red. The Buddha spoke again. Buddha said, the path to enlightenment begins within. It is a journey of self-discovery, acceptance, and liberation from ignorance. A disciple asked, Master, what is the first step we must take to begin this transformative journey of spiritual awakening? Buddha replied, the first step is to embrace mindfulness, to see the world clearly, and to live in the present moment. He continued, release your regrets of the past and worries for the future, anchoring your heart in the here and now. The disciple asked, Master, what if we find the present moment filled with pain, suffering, and difficulties beyond our control? Buddha said, embrace the present with courage, for even pain is impermanent, teaching us compassion, strength, and resilience. He added, in suffering lies the seed of awakening, for it reveals the truths of life and the path to peace. A disciple asked, Master, how can we practice compassion when faced with anger, hatred, or injustice in our world? Buddha replied, compassion is the antidote to anger. It transforms our hearts and strengthens the bond of our shared humanity. He explained, when you encounter anger, understand its root cause, and respond with love, empathy, and the wisdom of interconnection. Another disciple asked, Master, is it possible to overcome hatred and division, and to create a harmonious and peaceful world? Buddha said, peace begins within each of us. It flows outward through acts of kindness, understanding, and forgiveness toward all beings. He continued, the world reflects our hearts. To change it, we must first heal ourselves, our thoughts, and our intentions. The disciples listened intently, feeling a renewed sense of purpose, connection, and hope in Buddha's teachings. Buddha said, the path to enlightenment is not about perfection but progress. for every step brings clarity, strength, and peace. A disciple asked, Master, how can we measure our progress on this path when life presents us with constant challenges and distractions? Buddha replied, measure progress by your ability to remain calm, compassionate, and mindful, even amid the storms of life. He added, true strength lies in your inner peace, which cannot be shaken by external circumstances or the opinions of others. The disciples sat, silently, contemplating Buddha's teachings and their own journeys toward enlightenment and liberation. The morning sun climbed higher, casting golden rays upon the forest and filling the air with warmth and light. Buddha said, each of you carries the seed of enlightenment within. Nurture it with patience, humility, and the wisdom of experience. He continued, your journey is unique, yet the destination is the same. A heart filled with peace, joy, and unconditional love. A disciple asked, Master, what if we lose our way on this path or feel unworthy of attaining enlightenment? Buddha replied, do not despair. The path is always before you, and each step, no matter how small, brings you closer. He added, worthiness is not a condition. It is inherent in your being. Trust yourself and the infinite possibilities within. The disciples felt a deep sense of inspiration, gratitude, and determination as they prepared to embark on their spiritual journeys. Buddha said, walk your path with intention and courage, for it is through your efforts that the light within shall shine. He concluded, the Bodhi tree stands as a symbol of awakening. Let its steadfastness remind you of your own strength. The disciples bowed in reverence, their hearts filled with wisdom and the promise of peace. The forest grew quiet once more as Buddha returned to meditation, his serene presence a beacon of guidance and compassion. Letting go is not an end. It is a beginning. Each release unveils layers of your authentic self, he revealed. Another day, Buddha walked into a village where anger and discord simmered among its divided and embittered inhabitants. The villagers gathered around Buddha, their voices rising with complaints, grievances, and demands for justice and resolution. A villager stepped forward and said, Master, our village is torn apart by envy, hatred, and disputes we cannot resolve. Buddha listened patiently, his calm presence stilling the clamor of voices, bringing a silence that enveloped the crowd. He said, hatred and anger are like a fire that consumes all who hold it, leaving ashes and suffering behind. A woman cried, Master, how do we quench this fire when injustice and betrayal fuel its relentless flames? Buddha replied, pour compassion upon the fire of hatred, for only love and understanding can extinguish its destructive power. A man said, but Master, how can we show compassion to those who have wronged us and caused us harm? Buddha responded, compassion is the light that reveals the humanity in others, even when their actions come from their own pain. He continued, those who harm are also bound by suffering and ignorance. To hate them is to share their torment. Behold these treasures, created by the hands of men, destined to fade with time, yet sought as if eternal, he said. A disciple approached, holding a silk scarf, its vibrant colors igniting her eyes with admiration and her heart with yearning. He added, when your heart is open, compassion becomes a natural response, even toward those who have caused you pain. The villagers fell silent, their thoughts turning inward as they sought to release their burdens of resentment and anger. Buddha took the scarf, its delicate threads glimmering, and placed it in her hands. His voice gentle yet firm, beauty resides not in possession but in appreciation. He said, the path of compassion may be challenging, but it is the only path that leads to true peace and harmony. The villagers looked at one another, their differences seeming less significant in the light of Buddha's teachings. Buddha said, peace begins in the heart. Nurture it with acts of kindness, understanding, and forgiveness, and it will grow. He added, as a tree offers shade to all, so too should your compassion extend to all beings without discrimination. A young girl asked, Master, how can we teach our children to follow this path of compassion and avoid the mistakes we have made? Buddha replied, lead by example, show them the power of love, the beauty of forgiveness, and the joy of connection. He said, teach them to see the suffering in others and to respond with empathy. For this is true strength. Master, how can something necessary for life also be an illusion? Is survival itself not rooted in attachment? He asked. Buddha took the cup, poured its contents to the earth, and held it aloft, its emptiness a lesson in simplicity. He continued, when we practice compassion, we not only heal others but also find healing for ourselves and our communities. A man asked, Master, is it ever too late to mend broken relationships and restore the harmony we once had? Buddha replied, it is never too late. Even the deepest wounds can be healed with patience, understanding, and unwavering compassion. He said, the present moment is always an opportunity for renewal, for planting seeds of peace and reconciliation. The villagers began to weep, their tears washing away the barriers that had divided them for so long. Buddha said, hold each other with kindness, speak to each other with truth, and listen to each other with an open heart. He added, in every act of compassion, you bring light to the world and dispel the darkness of division. A woman asked, Master, how do we sustain this compassion in a world that often rewards selfishness and punishes vulnerability? Buddha replied, compassion is its own reward. It nourishes the soul, strengthens the spirit, and connects us to our true selves. He said, the world may test your compassion, but each test is an opportunity to grow stronger and more steadfast in your practice. The villagers felt a renewed sense of purpose, their commitment to compassion deepening with every word from Buddha. Buddha said, compassion is not a destination but a journey, a way of being that transforms every moment into an opportunity for love. He added, carry this compassion with you, in your thoughts, words, and actions, and the world will reflect its light. A child asked, Master, what if we forget these lessons and return to our old ways of anger and division? Buddha replied, do not fear forgetting. Each moment is a chance to begin again, to choose love over anger, peace over conflict. He said, the path of compassion is always before you. Walk it with intention, and it will guide you home. The villagers bowed deeply to Buddha, their hearts filled with gratitude, humility, and hope. Buddha said, the Bodhi tree stands as a symbol of awakening, its roots deep, its branches wide, offering shade to all. He continued, be like the Bodhi tree, steadfast and generous, extending your compassion to all who seek its shelter. The villagers began to embrace one another, their bonds renewed, their differences forgotten, their hearts united by compassion. Buddha smiled, his serene presence a beacon of light and wisdom, as the village found peace in his teachings. As the sun set, the villagers pledged to walk the path of compassion, to heal themselves and their community. The evening air carried the fragrance of flowers, a reminder of the beauty of compassion and the promise of peace. Buddha returned to his meditation, his heart filled with the knowledge that his teachings would endure in their lives. The villagers sat in quiet reflection, their hearts alight with the transformative power of love and understanding. Desire and distraction, he said, are like waves upon the ocean. Truth is the anchor that grounds amidst the storm. The imagery he painted resonated with all present, sparking a quiet reflection as we considered the chaos of daily existence and its challenges. Another day, Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, his presence radiating calm as his disciples gathered for their master's wisdom. The morning was serene, and the sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting gentle patterns of light and shadow. A disciple asked, "Master, how can we find inner peace in a world filled with so much chaos, sorrow, and uncertainty?" Buddha replied, "Inner peace is not found by escaping chaos but by embracing it with mindfulness, equanimity, and understanding." He continued, "Like a lotus blooming in muddy water, remain unshaken by the challenges and distractions of the external world. Right mindfulness is awareness of the present moment, observing thoughts and sensations without clinging or aversion." He detailed. His teachings held a simplicity that belied their transformative power, each word an invitation to change perspectives. A disciple bowed and asked, "Master, how can we truly accept impermanence when it often brings loss and pain into our lives?" Buddha replied, "Impermanence is not to be feared but embraced, for it allows growth, renewal, and the appreciation of every fleeting moment." He continued, "Clinging to what is temporary creates suffering. Release your grasp and let life's currents guide you gently forward." Another disciple asked, "Master, is it possible to find peace even in the face of great personal loss and heartache?" Buddha answered, "Grief, too, is a teacher. It deepens your capacity for compassion, love, and understanding of the human experience." He added, "Through acceptance and mindfulness, even sorrow can be transformed into wisdom and a profound sense of interconnectedness." A disciple spoke, "Master, how do we remain present when our minds are constantly pulled between past regrets and future anxieties?" Buddha said, "The present moment is your true home. Anchor yourself in it through mindful breathing, observation, and gratitude." He continued, "Let go of regrets. They are but shadows of the past, and release anxieties that cloud the horizon of tomorrow." Another disciple asked, "Master, how can mindfulness help us navigate the complexities and distractions of modern life?" Buddha replied, "Mindfulness brings clarity and simplicity. It reveals the essence of life and allows you to focus on what truly matters." He said, "Practice mindfulness in every task, no matter how mundane, and you will find peace woven into the fabric of life." A disciple asked, "Master, how do we cultivate this mindfulness and make it a natural part of our daily existence?" Buddha responded, "Begin with small steps. Dedicate moments to meditation, reflection, and deep awareness of your thoughts, actions, and surroundings." He added, "Consistency and patience are key. Over time, mindfulness becomes as natural as the rhythm of your breath." The disciples listened intently, their hearts absorbing the profound simplicity of Buddha's wisdom. Buddha said, "Inner peace is a practice, not a destination. Nurture it daily, and it will grow like a steady flame." He continued, "Even when the winds of life blow fiercely, your inner peace will remain as a sanctuary and source of strength." A disciple asked, "Master, how do we overcome doubt and self-judgment, which often hinder our journey toward inner peace?" Buddha replied, "Doubt and judgment are like clouds. They obscure the light of truth but cannot extinguish its presence within you." He added, "Trust your inner wisdom, nurture your self-compassion, and remember that each step, no matter how small, is progress." Another disciple said, "Master, what is the relationship between inner peace and our connections with others in this interconnected world?" Buddha answered, "Inner peace and harmonious relationships are intertwined. Peace within radiates outward, fostering understanding, kindness, and unity with others." He explained, "See yourself in others, and see others in yourself. This recognition dissolves barriers and deepens your sense of connection." A disciple asked, "Master, how can we cultivate compassion and empathy when faced with differences, conflicts, and misunderstandings in relationships?" Buddha said, "Listen with an open heart. Seek to understand rather than to be understood. and respond with love rather than judgment. He continued, compassion bridges differences. It transforms discord into harmony and reveals the shared humanity beneath all appearances and circumstances. The disciples reflected on Buddha's teachings, feeling a profound shift in their understanding of peace and connection. Buddha said, "Inner peace is like a still lake. It reflects the beauty of the world and creates ripples of harmony." He added, "Let your peace inspire others. For in uplifting those around you, your own peace will deepen and multiply." A disciple asked, "Master, what if we find ourselves overwhelmed by the suffering and struggles of others in our desire to help?" Buddha replied, "Compassion does not mean bearing the weight of the world. It means being a source of light and encouragement." He continued, "Offer your support without losing your balance. Maintain your inner peace, for it strengthens your ability to serve others." Another disciple asked, "Master, how can we balance our personal growth with our responsibilities to the world and those around us?" Buddha said, "Personal growth and service to others are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin, enriching one another." He explained, "As you grow in wisdom and peace, you naturally uplift others. As you serve, you grow in love and humility." The disciples nodded, understanding that their individual journeys were intertwined with the collective journey of humanity. Buddha said, "The lotus blooms not in isolation but in the embrace of its environment, drawing strength from the water and sunlight." He continued, "Be like the lotus, thrive in connection, and let your inner peace inspire transformation within and around you." A disciple asked, "Master, how do we sustain our practice of inner peace in a world that often seems tumultuous and overwhelming?" Buddha replied, "Sustain your practice through dedication, community, and the remembrance of your inner strength and the teachings that guide you." He added, "Challenges will arise, but each challenge is an opportunity to deepen your peace and affirm your commitment to the path." The disciples felt a renewed sense of purpose, their hearts aligned with Buddha's timeless wisdom. Buddha said, "The Bodhi tree stands as a symbol of resilience, wisdom, and shelter. Let it remind you of your own strength." He continued, "Like the Bodhi tree, remain rooted in your peace and offer shade to those who seek comfort and guidance." The disciples bowed deeply, their hearts filled with gratitude, ready to carry Buddha's teachings into their lives. The sun set, casting golden hues across the land. As the disciples meditated on the eternal truths they had received, a gentle breeze carried the fragrance of blossoms, a reminder of life's impermanence and the enduring light of the Dharma. Under the Bodhi tree, Buddha resumed his meditation, his serene presence a beacon of hope and wisdom. The disciples departed, their hearts aglow with the promise of peace, their paths illuminated by Buddha's compassion and clarity. The Bodhi tree stood as a silent witness to the profound transformation sparked by Buddha's teachings that day. As night fell, the forest hummed with life, and the stars mirrored the eternal truths of the universe. The world slept, but within each disciple burned a flame of peace, a seed of enlightenment nurtured by the words of their master. And so, Buddha's teachings continue to ripple through time, inspiring all who sought wisdom, compassion, and the path to inner peace. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.